Like all my Mr. Bungle reviews, this one's going to have a funny story in the middle somewhere, so stick around for that. So Mr. Bungle is a band from Eureka, California. The original members were Mike Patton, Trace Ruance, Trevor Dunn, Danny Heifetz, Theo Laniel, and Clinton McKinnon. Although after the release of their last album, Disco Volante, Theo Laniel left the band. He didn't do much music-wise after, but in 2024, he did do something to his girlfriend. That's the reason you're looking at a mugshot right now. In 1999, they released their third album, which was their last album before they broke up. So California is often regarded as Mr. Bungle's best album, and I think that's because it's an easier listen than their other work. It still has that genre-bending, chaotic style that they're known for, but it's nowhere near Disco Volante levels of madness and absurdity. It's a lot more refined than their earlier work and feels a lot less random. Unfortunately, as somebody who loved this band for their, eccentric madness, I didn't like this album as much as I liked their other albums. But I actually do recommend this one as a first listen for anyone trying to get into the band. This album actually started a small feud between Mr. Bungle and the Red Hot Chili Peppers, as it was meant to come out on the same day as their album Californication. I'm sure you can see what the issue is there. In the end, Warner Brothers pushed back Mr. Bungle's release. So you'd think that, the whole thing would be done then, right? No. So Anthony Kiedis, lead singer of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, decided to remove Mr. Bungle from a bunch of festivals they were meant to play at, which he was able to do because the Red Hot Chili Peppers were headlining those festivals, and they had some influence on say on who could and couldn't play. In response to this, Mr. Bungle dressed up as the Red Hot Chili Peppers and went to Kiedis' hometown of Pontiac, Michigan, and took the piss out of the band by impersonating them and playing their songs. Unfortunately, Anthony Kiedis did not think this was very funny, saying about the band, "I hope they all die." How thoughtful of him. As far as Mr. Bungle is concerned, what Anthony Kiedis did to take them out of the festivals is probably the reason that they broke up. I'm not saying Mr. Bungle were completely in the right to impersonate the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and take the piss out of them. But what Anthony Kiedis did was, let's be honest, also pretty unreasonable. So as for the best songs on this album, one of them is None of Them Knew They Were Robots. This is a very exciting song where the lyrics blend themes of religion and technology and how they might both bring about some sort of apocalypse. At least that's what I think it's about. I'm not actually sure. It's kind of hard to tell. It's definitely one of the more fun sounding songs off of this album, and it's actually quite similar to their earlier work, so that's probably why I hold it in such high regard. Another of the best songs is Retro Vertigo. This one's actually quite calm for the most part, and can even get a bit sad at points, which is weird because, I would never expect Mr. Bungle to make a sad song, but there you go. It's cool to see the group experimenting with a new kind of sound. Funnily enough, it reminds me of Radiohead stuff. Never thought I'd compare Mr. Bungle to Radiohead, but there you go. Surprisingly, this song wasn't written by Mike Patton, the vocalist of the band. It was written by Trevor Dunn, the bassist. In a nutshell, it's about how some people want to go back to living like the good old days, while some other people in the world are basically still living in the dark ages, and how that makes Trevor feel really sick to his stomach. Pink Cigarette is another one of the best songs, and it's also a sad song. It's about a lost lover and the shared love of cigarettes they had with the protagonist. The end of the song gets really intense as Mike Patton counts down the hours until this person finds him dead as a heart rate monitor gets faster and faster and faster. It's not the kind of song I would have expected from this band, but at this point I really should have learned to expect the unexpected, and it's a pretty good song. Goodbye Sober Day is the closer off of this album, and it's also probably my favourite. I think it's about a drug trip, and the sound of the song really suits that, as it gets weirder and weirder and weirder the longer it goes on. It switches back and forth between being somber and being energetic and lively, which is a good way to close an album where the whole thing was switching back and forth between being somber and being energetic and lively. As for the worst songs, I'm going to have to say that I think the worst one here is the opener, Sweet Charity. It's one of the longest songs in the album at 5 minutes, and I don't feel it does a whole lot to warrant that kind of length. It works well as an opener tonally, but it's not something I really ever come back to. It's not a bad song by any means. I don't think there are any bad songs on this album. I just had to pick the worst of a great bunch. As for the album cover, there's not a lot to say about it. I couldn't really find any history behind it or anything. I mean, I think it gets the point across. It's minimal. I like it, but I feel like it could have been better, you know? As I said previously, this is my least favorite Mr. Bungle album so far, but I would recommend this for anybody looking to get into the band, or anybody who's just into kind of weird or rock music in general. I think 8.1 Red Hot Chili Peppers is a good score to give this album. And yeah, that's it. Bye.